At 2 a.m. on November 25, 2025, the North Pacific lay in near total darkness, a vast expanse of water stretching over 1.5 million square miles, quiet except for the faint hum of ocean currents. The USS Harding, a $2.3 billion Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, cut silently through the waves, carrying 312 sailors on a routine patrol meant to ensure maritime safety. There were no storms and no threats until an anomaly appeared on radar, a fast-moving vessel at 28 nautical miles heading directly toward the Harding without identification or communication. Within minutes, this single contact would pull two nations to the brink of confrontation, triggering over 3,200 telemetry points of automated alerts and forcing naval crews to confront a terrifying reality. A momentary miscalculation in the open ocean could cost thousands of lives and billions in assets, redefining the limits of modern warfare. By 2:17 a.m., the North Pacific Ocean remained locked in darkness. 41 nautical miles south of the Aleutian Islands, Alaska, the sea rolled under low clouds, cold and heavy, with visibility reduced to less than 2 miles. This was not a combat zone. It was a routine patrol lane used by American naval vessels for decades without incident. The USS Harding moved steadily through the water at 18 knots. No weapons were armed toward shore, and no strike packages were active. Its task was simple: monitor maritime traffic and relay data to Pacific Command. Then, at 2:19 a.m., the comm fractured. Inside the Combat Information Center, a radar technician flagged an anomaly. A surface contact appeared suddenly at 28 nautical miles, traveling fast, 33 knots, on a parallel course. There was no identification signal, no commercial transponder, and no response to automated hails. The contact was too large to be civilian and too controlled to be accidental. Within 90 seconds, the unknown vessel closed the gap to 21 nautical miles. The bridge went quiet. The Harding transmitted a standard maritime call in English and Russian, recorded and time-stamped. "This is a United States Navy vessel operating in international waters. Identify yourself." The reply never came. Only the radar return grew brighter, sharper, and more deliberate. At 2:24 a.m., electronic sensors detected a brief radar sweep. Narrow, focused, and unmistakable. It was fire control grade. That single signal changed the tone of the night. The destroyer shifted to heightened awareness. Defensive systems were placed on standby. Every action was locked. Every second preserved. No alarm sounded yet, and no weapons were fired, but every officer on watch understood the meaning of what had just occurred. This was no coincidence. This was no navigational error. In the black water of the North Pacific, something had begun to move with intent. At 2:36 a.m., more than 1,900 miles west of the USS Harding, a hardened coastal command facility near Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky flickered to life. Beneath reinforced concrete and steel, a wall of radar screens tracked the same contact now moving through the North Pacific. To the officers inside the room, the data told a different story. The American destroyer's course appeared deliberate. Its speed, 18 knots, steady and unbroken, was interpreted not as routine, but as intent. A single analyst noted that the vessel had maintained its heading for 47 consecutive minutes, a detail quickly elevated into suspicion. In a region where strategic assets were often tested, assumption moved faster than verification. At 2:38 a.m., the contact was reclassified. What had been marked as foreign surface traffic was now labeled a potential reconnaissance platform. No diplomatic channel was opened and no civilian authority was consulted. Within 120 seconds, a senior naval officer authorized an active intercept, bypassing standard de-escalation procedures designed to prevent exactly this scenario. Orders were issued quietly. A patrol warship displacing over 4,000 tons and capable of speeds exceeding 34 knots was instructed to close the distance. Its weapons remained cold, but its sensors did not. Long-range radar locked on and electronic listening arrays unfolded. The goal, as stated in the log, was to assert control. Back on the USS Harding, the change was immediate and unmistakable. The unknown vessel's profile sharpened, its bearing shifted by 7 degrees, aligning directly with the destroyer's projected path. Distance collapsed from 21 nautical miles to 15 in less than 4 minutes. Another radio transmission was sent, then a second, then a third. Each was recorded, time-stamped, and preserved. Each went unanswered. At 2:44 a.m., the contact initiated a sustained targeting sweep. In naval doctrine, that action carries a clear meaning. It is not observation, it is preparation. Two ships operating under different assumptions now moved toward the same point in the water. One believed it was being challenged, the other knew it was being watched. Between them, the margin for error had narrowed to minutes. By 2:49 a.m., the tension aboard the USS Harding had escalated to a level rarely recorded in peacetime logs. The unknown vessel, now 13 nautical miles away, held a course that suggested neither avoidance nor casual observation. Its electronic signature was sharp, targeted, and unmistakable. Every officer in the Combat Information Center understood the gravity. This was the precursor to an aggressive maneuver. Inside Washington, D.C., the Joint Operations Center at the Pentagon lit up. Analysts monitored encrypted feeds from satellites, long-range radars, and automatic identification systems. The USS Harding's position, 41 nautical miles from the Aleutians, was confirmed as entirely within international waters. Yet the unknown contact's proximity and precise trajectory triggered Defensive Condition 1, the highest alert short of open conflict. At 2:51 a.m., the Harding issued a final warning, clear, firm, and recorded. This is a United States Navy vessel operating in international waters. All actions against this ship will be considered hostile. Cease any maneuver that threatens our safety immediately. There was no reply. Seconds later, the unknown ship began locking radar beams on the Harding's hull, its electronic systems scanning every inch of the destroyer for vulnerabilities. Fire control radars activated. The ship's speed increased to 36 knots, closing the distance by 4 nautical miles in under 2 minutes. The Harding's command, under Commander James Holloway, a veteran with over 3,200 hours of combat command experience, ordered all defensive systems online. Phalanx CIWS, RIM-116 missiles, and electronic countermeasures were ready for instant action. A silent hum of servos and cooling fans filled the steel corridors as the crew moved with precision. Each step was calculated. Each action rehearsed. Then it began. The first salvo of warning munitions. High-intensity flares lit the sky, sensors pinged across the water, and decoy drones dispersed to mislead targeting systems. Every action was both defensive and a message. Any hostile move will be met with immediate consequence. The unknown vessel responded with its own measures. Surface-to-air missile tubes opened. Radar-guided targeting sequences locked. Electronic jamming activated. In the span of 90 seconds, a delicate balance hung between restraint and catastrophe. By 2:54 a.m., Harding's crew counted over 120 separate radar and sonar contacts converging on their position. Some were real, some were decoys. Each required instant verification. One misstep, one hesitation could have triggered an escalation that would engulf North Pacific in seconds. Commander Holloway activated the last stage of preemptive readiness, a silent signal to the crew: fire only if absolutely necessary, but be prepared to strike with full force. The destroyer's silhouette cut through the fog. Guns primed, missiles aligned, a single wrong move away from unleashing destruction. In those minutes, the ocean became a chessboard of steel, electronics, and human resolve. Every ping, every radar blip, every calculated maneuver was a test of nerves. The margin for error was measured in seconds. The Harding waited, cold and disciplined, for the next move, fully aware that what happened in the next few minutes could redefine the boundaries of peace and war in the Pacific. By 2:57 a.m., the tension that had simmered across the North Pacific exploded into action. The unknown vessel, now 10 nautical miles from the USS Harding, accelerated to 38 knots, closing the distance at an alarming rate. Its electronic warfare systems emitted pulses that disrupted Harding's radar for brief, terrifying moments. Every officer on the bridge felt the unspoken question: is this deliberate? The answer became clear in the next instant. At 2:59 a.m., the first salvo was fired, not at a distant target, but directly at Harding's path. A series of high-velocity projectiles, each weighing over 165 kilograms, skimmed across the water at Mach 1.8, producing sonic cracks that rattled the steel hull. The destroyer's Aegis combat system instantly tracked and targeted the incoming rounds. Within 7 seconds, 14 interceptors launched from the -41 Malawian Quachas vertical launch system, streaking toward the threats at Mach 3.2, leaving trails of vapor in the pre-dawn fog. Despite the precision, one projectile broke through. At 3:01 a.m., it struck the Harding's aft deck, rupturing 2 fuel pods and igniting a fire that reached 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, or 650 degrees Celsius. The blast sent shrapnel flying across 75 feet of deck, wounding 5 sailors, including a radar technician who lost partial hearing in his left ear. Smoke and heat filled the corridors, triggering automatic fire suppression systems that sprayed over 5,000 gallons of CO2 and foam in less than a minute. Simultaneously, the Harding deployed chaff and decoy drones, creating false targets across an area of 3 square nautical miles. Electronic countermeasures jammed the unknown ship's targeting systems for over 45 seconds, buying precious time for damage control teams to stabilize the vessel. Every sailor moved with exact precision. Every action was rehearsed, honed over countless drills. By 3:04 a.m., the Harding had stabilized. The aft deck burned, yet propulsion remained fully functional. Sensors indicated the unknown vessel had sustained minor hull damage, likely from its own misfired rounds, but remained combat-capable. The two ships now circled each other in a deadly dance, separated by 8 nautical miles, each testing the other's defenses. Back in the Pentagon, analysts watched live feeds with bated breath, over 2,500 individual telemetry points strange to Washington in real time. Each ping was a potential indicator of escalation. Every officer understood this was not random aggression. This was a deliberate test, a high-stakes gamble. At 3:06 a.m., the Harding's captain issued a calm, firm order: hold fire, maintain defense, record everything. The destroyer's guns and missiles remained primed, a silent warning that any further provocation would be met with overwhelming precision. In those tense minutes, the North Pacific became a theater of controlled chaos. Fire, smoke, and high-speed projectiles intertwined with electronic warfare, navigation maneuvers, and human courage. Each second carried the weight of potential catastrophe, a reminder that in modern naval combat, survival depends not on luck, but on discipline, timing, and resolve. At 3:12 a.m., the USS Harding and the unknown vessel reached a precarious equilibrium, a fragile standoff that stretched across the cold, dark waters of the North Pacific. Both ships were battered, their hulls scarred, and their crews exhausted. Harding's aft deck still smoldered from the earlier blast, smoke curling toward the low-hanging clouds, while radar indicated that the adversary had sustained multiple hits to its superstructure and weapon mounts. Washington and the Joint Operations Center monitored every detail. Over 3,200 telemetry streams from satellites, drones, and shipboard sensors painted an unambiguous picture. The USS Harding had remained 41 nautical miles from the Aleutians, entirely within international waters, while the unknown vessel had conducted 4 deliberate offensive maneuvers, including 2 near-miss projectiles and 1 direct hit. Intelligence analysts calculated that a single misjudgment at this point could have triggered a full-scale naval engagement, with consequences measured in billions of dollars and potentially thousands of lives. Back on the Harding, Commander Holloway ordered the crew to continue a full defensive posture, yet no offensive action would be taken without direct provocation. The destroyer's -41 Malawian Quachas vertical launch system remained prime with 32 interceptor missiles, while failing CIWS systems tracked every movement of the hostile ship. Electronic countermeasures continued to deploy simultaneous jamming pulses and decoy signatures across 5 square nautical miles, maintaining a protective digital bubble. The unknown vessel shifted course, retreating slowly to a 14 nautical mile distance, but remained armed, its radar still sweeping the Harding silhouette. Every second of retreat was measured, calculated, on board sailors whispered statistics, over 200 sensors online, 1,100 recorded radar pings, and more than 1,500 automated threat calculations per minute. Each number underscored the razor-thin line between restraint and open warfare. In Washington, the president and military leadership reviewed the live encrypted feeds. Every frame, from shrapnel arcs to smoke plumes and radar traces, was locked. Analysts agreed the unknown vessel had committed deliberate aggression. There were no warning signals, no communication, and no attempt at de-escalation, only a silent, calculated challenge. By 3:18 a.m., the standoff began to resolve. The adversary withdrew slowly toward international waters under observation. Harding's crew remained vigilant. No weapons were fired. The destroyer's data logs recorded over 6 terabytes of encrypted footage, each byte a testament to survival, discipline, and precision. The ocean returned to calm, but the scars, burned decks, wounded sailors, and shattered nerves remained as vivid as ever. In those moments, it became clear, victory in modern naval conflict is not measured in destruction alone, but in control, restraint, and the ability to survive against deliberate provocation. The USS Harding had endured the impossible, and the world had witnessed a high-stakes lesson in strategy, courage, and the razor's edge that separates peace from war. By 4 a.m., the North Pacific returned to a deceptive calm. The USS Harding steamed steadily, its engines humming over scarred steel and charred decks. Smoke from the earlier blast still curled into the fog, a stark reminder of how close the line between routine patrol and open conflict had become. 2 sailors remained in critical condition, and dozens more were bruised or burned. And yet the ship, a $2.3 billion destroyer, had remained fully operational, an enduring symbol of discipline and resilience. Back in Washington, the president addressed the nation in a brief statement: "America does not seek war, but it will never apologize for defending its people." Every action, every warning, every second of restraint had been deliberate. Analysts confirmed that the Harding had operated entirely within international waters and that the hostile maneuvers of the unknown vessel were unprovoked. The incident sent ripples across global markets. Oil futures jumped by 3.2%, insurance rates for Pacific shipping spiked, and naval commands worldwide began reviewing protocols for escalation and response. Yet beyond economics and politics, the true lesson lay in human resolve. In the quiet that followed, the ocean held the memory of the confrontation. Radar pings and missile trajectories were silent, but the scars remained. Discipline had prevailed over chaos. Precision over panic. November 25, 2025 would be remembered not as a day of destruction, but as a testament to the edge of modern warfare, where one disciplined crew and one steel vessel stood between calm and catastrophe.